In 2015, Amazon.com Incorporated began evaluating a startup called Elemental Technologies, a potential acquisition to help with a major expansion of its streaming video service, Amazon Prime Video. Elemental made software for compressing massive video files and formatting them for different devices. Its technology had helped stream the Olympic Games online, communicate with the International Space Station, and funnel drone footage to the Central Intelligence Agency. During due diligence, AWS uncovered troubling issues, prompting AWS to take a closer look at Elemental's main product, the expensive servers that customers installed in their networks to handle the video compression. These servers were assembled for Elemental by Supermicro Computer Incorporated, a San Jose-based company commonly known as Supermicro, that's also one of the world's biggest suppliers of server motherboards. Nested on the server's motherboards, the testers found a tiny microchip, not much bigger than a grain of rice, that wasn't part of the board's original design. Amazon reported the discovery to US authorities. This was particularly game-changing, as Elemental servers could be found in Department of Defense data centers, the CIA's drone operations, and the onboard networks of Navy warships. Elemental was just one of hundreds of Supermicro customers. There are two ways for spies to alter the guts of computer equipment. One, known as interdiction, consists of manipulating devices as they're in transit from manufacturer to customer. This approach is favored by US spy agencies. The other method involves seeding changes from the very beginning. One country in particular has an advantage executing this kind of attack: China, which by some estimates makes 75% of the world's mobile phones and 90% of its PCs. Still, to actually accomplish a seeding attack would mean developing a deep understanding of a product's design, manipulating components at the factory, and ensuring that the doctored devices make it through the global logistics chain to the desired location. A feat akin to throwing a stick in the Yangtze River upstream from Shanghai and ensuring that it washes ashore in Seattle. But that's just what US investigators found. The chips had been inserted during the manufacturing process by operatives from a unit from the People's Liberation Army. One official says investigators found that it eventually affected almost 30 companies, including a major bank, government contractors, and the world's most valuable company, Apple Incorporated. Apple was an important Supermicro customer and had planned to order more than 30,000 of its servers in 2 years for a global network of data centers. 3 senior insiders at Apple say that in the summer of 2015, it too found malicious chips on Supermicro motherboards. In emailed statements, Amazon, Apple, and Supermicro disputed the investigations. Back in 2006, 3 engineers in Oregon had a clever idea. Demand for mobile video was about to explode, and they predicted that broadcasters would be desperate to transform programs designed to fit to TV screens into various formats needed for viewing on smartphones, laptops, and other devices. To meet the anticipated demand, the engineers started Elemental Technologies, assembling what one former advisor to the company calls a genius team to write code that would adapt the super-fast graphics chips being produced for high-end video gaming machines. The resulting software dramatically reduced the time it took to process large video files. Elemental then loaded the software onto custom-built servers and delivered them to clients around the world. Elemental servers sold for as much as $100,000 each, at profit margins of as high as 70%, according to a former advisor to the company. 2 of Elemental's biggest early clients were the Mormon Church, which used the technology to beam sermons to congregations around the world, and the adult film industry, which did not. Elemental also started working with American spy agencies. In 2009, the company announced a development partnership with In-Q-Tel Incorporated, the CIA's investment arm. Public documents, including the company's own promotional materials, show that the servers had been used inside the Department of Defense data centers to process drone and surveillance camera footage, on Navy warships to transmit feeds of airborne missions, and inside government buildings to enable secure video conferencing. NASA, both houses of Congress, and the Department of Homeland Security have also been customers. This portfolio made Elemental a target for foreign adversaries. Supermicro had been an obvious choice to build Elemental servers. Headquartered north of San Jose's airport, up a smoggy stretch of Interstate 880, the company was founded by Charles Liang, a Taiwanese engineer who attended graduate school in Texas and then moved west to start Supermicro. Today, Supermicro sells more server motherboards than almost anyone else. It also dominates the $1 billion market for boards used in special-purpose computers, from MRI machines to weapons systems. Its motherboards can be found in made-to-order server setups at banks, hedge funds, global computing providers, and web hosting services, among other places. Supermicro has assembly facilities in California, the Netherlands, and Taiwan, but its motherboards, its core product, are nearly all manufactured by contractors in China. The majority of its workforce in San Jose is Taiwanese or Chinese, and Mandarin is the preferred language, with Hanzi filling the whiteboards, according to 6 former employees. These overseas ties, especially the widespread use of Mandarin, would have made it easier for China to gain an understanding of Supermicro's operations and potentially to infiltrate the company. Apple made its discovery of suspicious chips inside Supermicro's servers around May 2015, after detecting odd network activity and firmware problems. 2 of the senior Apple insiders say the company reported the incident to the FBI but kept details about what it had originally detected tightly held. Government investigators were still chasing clues on their own when Amazon made its discovery and gave them access to sabotaged hardware, according to one U.S. official. This created an invaluable opportunity for intelligence agencies and the FBI, then running a full investigation led by its cyber and counterintelligence teams, to see what the chips looked like and how they worked. The chips on Elemental servers were designed to be as inconspicuous as possible. Gray or off-white in color, they looked more like signal conditioning couplers, another common motherboard component, than microchips. And so they were unlikely to be detectable without specialized equipment. Depending on the motherboard, the chips varied slightly in size, indicating that the attackers had supplied different factories with different batches. Supermicro had 3 primary manufacturers constructing its motherboards, 2 located in Taiwan and 1 in Shanghai. When such suppliers are choked with big orders, they sometimes parcel out work to subcontractors. FBI officials traced the malicious chips to 4 subcontracting factories that had been building Supermicro motherboards for at least 2 years. They sifted through communications intercepts, tapped informants in Taiwan and China, even tracked key individuals through their phones, according to the person briefed on evidence gathered during the probe. As agents monitored Chinese officials, motherboard manufacturers, and middlemen, they glimpsed how the seeding process worked. The investigators concluded that this intricate scheme was the work of a People's Liberation Army unit specializing in hardware attack. The unit is believed to focus on high-priority targets, including advanced commercial technology and the computers of rival militaries. In past attacks, it targeted the designs for high-performance computer chips and computing systems of large U.S. internet providers. Documents seen by Businessweek showed that in 2014, Apple planned to order more than 6,000 Supermicro servers for installation in 17 locations, including Amsterdam, Chicago, Hong Kong, Los Angeles, New York, San Jose, Singapore, and Tokyo, plus 4,000 servers for its existing North Carolina and Oregon data centers. Those orders were supposed to double to 20,000 by 2015. Project delays and early performance problems meant that around 7,000 Supermicro servers were humming in Apple's network by the time the company's security team found the added chips. Because Apple didn't, according to a U.S. official, provide government investigators with access to its facilities or the tampered hardware, the extent of the attack there remained outside their view. China has long been known to monitor banks, manufacturers, and ordinary citizens on its own soil, and the main customers of AWS's China Cloud were domestic companies or foreign entities with operations there. Its security team determined that it would be difficult to quietly remove the equipment and that, even if they could devise a way, doing so would alert the attackers that the chips had been found. Instead, the team developed a method of monitoring the chips. In the ensuing months, they detected brief check-in communications between the attackers and the sabotaged servers, but didn't see any attempts to remove data. That likely meant one of 3 possibilities. 1. That the attackers were saving the chips for a later operation. 2. The data had already been accessed. And finally, that they'd infiltrated other parts of the network before the monitoring began. None of the outcomes were reassuring. If you liked this video, feel free to hit the thumbs up button, and if you loved the video, subscribe for more. Until next time, this is Epic Clips.